Hello everybody, Bold the Split Ends Wiz here. I'm going to be doing something a little bit different today. Not like any of my normal guitar covers or anything. I'm actually going to provide my own 2 cents into a series of Doctor Who, and that's going to be the latest series, Series 7. Just so you all know, this is my own personal view about it, so if your view doesn't comprehend with mine, don't patronise me or anything. This is just my own personal view of Series 7, and it's basically a review of Doctor Who Series 7. Right, so with that said, it's been about I think 2 months since it stopped airing, maybe 1.5. I don't actually know, and it's basically the series that's going to lead up to the 50th anniversary in November. So, with that said, I'll dive into my review. And to be honest, to start off, I admit it's probably the weakest series of the Moffat era. That doesn't mean I don't like it though. It's still a fairly good series, but I still think 5 and 6 are better. They were a bit more interesting. I thought the story arcs in those series were a bit more precise, and the stories were fleshed out a little bit better. But that's not to say I don't like Series 7. I do like a lot of parts of Series 7. I just happen to think 5 and 6 are better. So, to get down to the whole thing, I think the things I really thought worked with Series 7. The introduction of Clara was really good. A lot of people have said they haven't really liked Clara. I've seen on the internet a lot of people, they haven't really warmed to her. But I really like her. I thought she was a really good addition to the show, and it's always good to add a fresh face into the show. And her mystery sort of works really well. And a lot of people, I know noticed a lot of people complained about how she hasn't really been fleshed out too much, and she's really just she's been that sort of classic companion sort of figure, rather than, someone like Amy or Rose, who's really had a lot to do with the whole plot device. I don't blame her character for that. I think the way she's been written could have been a little bit better, but they've written her into the story that way, and let's hopefully we learn more about her in Series 8. I think there's still more they can do with her, that character. And Jenna Coleman, she does a great job at it. And Matt Smith's good as always. He's a fabulous Doctor. It's going to be really sad to see him go. It's going to be really tough. To be honest, I think he could have stayed another year, but he wants to go off and do his own thing, and I respect that. You don't want to be typecast as the Doctor. Being an actor is a job, and you've got to keep the ball rolling, even if you play a character as iconic as the Doctor or something like that. So best of luck to him, and he's been a fabulous Doctor. He really, he had hard shoes to fill after David Tennant left. I admit that, but I think he's better than David Tennant. He's more synonymous with how the Doctor is played, and he really had some great moments in this series. One in particular was his speech in the Rings of Arca-10. I think that's probably his most brilliant piece as the Doctor. Really, emotion in his voice was outstanding. It really came out in him, and it really moved me, that scene. It was excellent. And it wasn't only like he was speaking to his Doctor either. He was speaking for all the Doctors before him, which I felt was really clever. And that's why I really think that's a great speech. I think that's his best speech on the show. And also Amy and Rory, not to forget them. They were in the first start of Series 7, and to be quite honest, I really think they were, their position in the start of Series 7 was really awkward. The reason I say that is because I think their story was done by Series 6, and when when Series 7 started and they were put into it, they just, they didn't really seem to be a big part of the plot to me. Obviously in Asylum of the Daleks and The Angels Take Manhattan and The Power of Three they were, but the other two episodes, Dinosaurs on a Spaceship and A Town Called Mercy, that could have easily been another companion. They didn't really have much to do with those two episodes at all. That could have been done with anyone, and it's really sad because Rory and particularly Amy are such iconic companions, and their roles were reduced. I felt their roles were reduced drastically at the start of Series 7, and that kind of annoyed me a bit because they've been such excellent companions. I have to admit, Amy is probably the best companion in the new era of Doctor Who. I can't dispute that. Closely followed by Donna, but I think Amy's the best because she really, I think her connection to the Doctor has been the most sincere and really, she's had her story has been the most intriguing of the new series. I think, you know, it was done really well, and that's another, yeah. Anyway, I'll talk about that later. So, if I had to pick any favourite episodes of Series 7, it's hard, so I'd probably pick I've rounded it down to about 3 or 4. Asylum of the Daleks would be one. I sort of liked the conflict between Amy and Rory at the start there. I thought that was an interesting twist to start the series with. And the reintroduction of the Daleks was done really well by Stephen Moffat. He made him creepy again with the whole, insane Dalek asylum and all the Daleks talking about eggs and shit like that. I thought that was really clever. And the introduction of the Clara mystery in that episode, Oswin Oswald's there, and she's the flirtatious aspect of Clara's nature, I'm guessing, or intelligent or something, or she just fits into that thing. But no, her introduction was a surprise, and it was a really good surprise because, we got an early introduction as to what was to come with Clara, and I thought that was really well done. The Snowman would be another one. That's the second introduction of Clara. That's one of the better Christmas specials. I really enjoyed that episode. I thought the Great Intelligence was a bit of a weird villain to bring back. He worked in the end. I'll talk about that later as well. But when I watched The Snowman for the first time, I saw the Great Intelligence, and to be honest, I had to look him up. To be honest, I'm not the biggest classic series fan. I have watched a lot of the episodes, but I realised Great Intelligence is from the Troughton era originally. I think, yeah. And I didn't really know much about him, so I read up, and he was only in 2 Troughton serials, and I thought he was a bit of a weird villain to bring back because he was by no means that iconic that I could see. But it did work well in the end, and it was a good introduction story, and Ian McKellen voicing the Great Intelligence was brilliant. I thought, who could have better actor could have done that, and Richard E. Grant himself was good too. And, that really introduced us to the whole Clara mystery, that episode, the woman twice dead, and I thought that was a really good place to start on. So that's one of my other favourite episodes. This next one you might find really surprising, actually, because, yeah, it was one episode I actually really thoroughly enjoyed, and that's the Crimson Horror. And the reason I say that is because I actually quite like the Paternoster gang, I like looking at Jenny Strax and Madame Vastra. I didn't think they would work initially either, but what the Crimson Horror did, it made me really connect to those. I felt really connected to those characters, and I thought they were written very well into the show by Mark. They were fleshed out really well by Mark Gatiss. And that episode was really enjoyable. It was paced pretty well. I liked the idea of the Doctor being immobile to start with. With all the Crimson shit on him. And yeah, I just thought it was a good flowing story, and it had a decent enough conclusion. I felt it was really well fleshed out. And of course, the other really outstanding episode, and probably the best of the series, is no surprise here, is the name of the Doctor. And that's just fantastic. That's an amazing episode. Everything about that episode was just spot on. The whole Clara mystery revealed that made it very, very plausible. It's actually really weird that they call Clara the Impossible Girl, whereas to me, Amy seems more impossible because she was made by the Crux in Time. So it's weird because Clara's called the Impossible Girl, but really Amy seems more impossible than Clara. When the Clara mystery is actually solved, it seems a lot more plausible than when the Amy mystery was actually solved in Series 5, which I thought was really interesting. But no, that was a really good episode, and the revelation at the end, that cliffhanger, fucking amazing. That was fantastic. That really, kudos to, clap to Moffat for that one. That really, I did not see that coming. I don't think anyone did, and that's a really intriguing cliffhanger to lead into the 50th, and I really look forward to that. But with that said, there were problems I had with the series. One big problem I had was the pacing of the stories. I pick certain examples of episodes. Episodes like Power of Three, Cold War, Rings of Arc 10 to an extent, Hyde, Journey to the Center of the TARDIS, even Nightmare and Silver. They all had really rushed endings. Particularly Power of Three. I think that was the worst of the bunch. That was my least favorite episode of the series. How they meet the Shakri, says a few not really menacing lines, and then the Doctor waves his sonic screwdriver, and it's all done. He just does that shit, and it's all gone. So, yeah, I thought that was a really rushed episode. I did like the whole emphasis on Amy and Rory's importance to the Doctor, but still, I didn't like that episode. It just felt too rushed. And that's why I think two-parters need to return in Series 8, because I know a lot of people have probably said this before, but there is a reason why two-parters worked, You can't tell a story like, the Family of Blood two-parter, or The Master, or, the Daleks attacking Satellite 5. You can't tell that in one part. You need two parts to flesh that story out and make it more epic. You can't rush it in one episode, It doesn't work. You get a shitty ending, and it falls flat. And that's just my opinion. Feel free to disagree with me. I'm just sharing my opinion. But yeah, it just fell flat, and I think it's really the way it was produced. And the other thing is, I'm sick of the gaps. I know they've changed the production style around, but I think the problem with having such long gaps in between parts and series is that you lose track of the storyline if you don't watch it for long enough. Like I watch Doctor Who on a regular occasion just to keep up with it, but if you don't watch it, you often come back into the second part and you're like, hang on, what's just happened? Why is Clara suddenly on Earth? Oh right, that's right, she's died. Hang on, yeah, but it just gets confusing. You know what I mean? Series 6 wasn't such a problem because it was all in the same year, and it was like a 2-month wait or something. It wasn't too bad, but I don't know. There was too much of a wait in Series 7, and to be honest, that really did piss me off. Like, I understand that actors need a break and everything, but you need a more consistent way of releasing episodes. Like I thought the whole 5 episodes and nothing for a few months, and then the Christmas special and nothing again, and then 8 episodes. It ruined the flow, and that's one reason why I thought Series 5 was Moffat's best series. He provided a very different take on the show to Russell T Davies, but he stuck to the same formula in terms of episodes that T Davies had, and it was still a fabulous series. I thought Series 5 and 6 had brilliant story arcs, and because Series 7 was chopped up so much, the story arc couldn't expand the way it could in 5 or 6, and I think it really restricted it. That plus the whole non-existence of two-parters, it ruined the story arc, and it felt really choppy and out of place. I hope they scrap the blockbuster a week thing for Series 8. I really do, because I prefer a coherent story arc rather than just one episode here, one episode there. They don't link to each other very easily. I don't know. That's just my opinion. And what else could I talk about? Oh, the villains. I could talk about the villains. I thought the Cyberman redesign in Nightmare of Silver was pretty cool. Pity that, again, that ending was very rushed, which is a pity. But I didn't mind the Cyberman redesign. They definitely looked a lot more menacing. They still sounded quite noisy, but I do like how they can move a lot quicker now, and they look a lot less like Darth Vader and all macho and stuff, which I thought that was pretty cool. The Daleks were done well in Asylum of the Daleks, as I mentioned before. Return of the Ice Warrior was done well, but again, that story was rushed, so it kind of left a sour note on it. As I said, one reason I liked Crimson Horror is I liked how mad Miss Gillyflower was, and I like the line when the Doctor goes, "Hi, I'm the Doctor. You're mad." Yada yada yada. I thought that was pretty funny, and also I really liked the Whispermen, even though they really weren't fleshed out that much. But when I first watched that episode, they creeped the shit out of me. Like, I don't think a monster's creeped the hell out of me like that since the Weeping Angels. I think there's two instances in that episode where they just jump at you and you're just like, holy shit, what did I just see? But, you know, it's not scary to me now, but first watching it was just freaking terrifying. It was Weeping Angels terrifying, almost. They scared the hell out of me. Yeah, and speaking of the Angels, they were alright in the Angels Tag Manhattan too. And in terms of, you know, character send-offs, like I'll talk about Amy and Rory's send-off a little bit. I thought they could have done that a little bit better. Like, particularly Rory, I mean, he became such a great character to that show. You know, he became more important than he was at the beginning. And I think, for me, I think The Girl Who Waited in Series 6 was the episode really cemented how important Rory was to the show. And I thought Arthur Darvill was brilliant in that episode. But he just was gone, like, without having to say a word, you know, in Angels Take Manhattan. He was just click of a finger, doesn't really get a proper goodbye. But there's actually, I don't know if all of you have actually seen this, but there's this scene they didn't actually film where he sends a letter to Brian, his father, in form of his his son, who turns out to be Brian's grandson, but he's older than his dad. And they didn't actually film it, but it's sort of Rory's goodbye to his father, and I don't really understand why they couldn't have put that in the episode. I mean, that would have been great. That would have made Rory's goodbye seem a lot more sincere, but instead he's just, you know, Angel touches him, he's gone, we don't see him again, and that's pretty sucks. Like, at least Amy gets a little bit of dialogue to go off of, and it makes sense in a way because she was the bigger companion out of the two, but I do think Rory should have gotten a better send-off than he did. That's just my opinion anyway. I'm sure many of you may agree, many of you may disagree, I don't know, but that's just my opinion. Rory needed a better send-off. Anyway, I'll talk about what I hope to see in the coming weeks, in the coming months and year or so with Doctor Who. I am looking forward to the 50th anniversary. It should be good to see Matt Smith and David Tennant and John Hurt on screen together. I think that will be a really interesting episode. It's going to be sad to see Matt go on the Christmas special. I'm eager to see who they cast as the 12th Doctor, and I actually hope what I really hope for the 12th Doctor is that they don't actually reveal his identity until we see it for ourselves. You know, I hope Moffat and the production team keep it secret until we actually see the regeneration. I think that would be really interesting. You know, we find out simultaneously around the world watching the episode. I think that would be really clever. And as for Series 8, I can't say much about it, you know. It's Series 8, it's a long way off in the future. I just hope it introduces the new Doctor really well, just like it did Matt Smith in Series 5 and David Tennant in Series 2. And I'm sure it will. I have faith in the show, and, you know, I think people should take it easy on Moffat, you know. I admit his production isn't quite up as good as T. Davies, but he's still a fabulous writer, and he writes really good episodes. Like, I cannot fault... Like, all these episodes in Series 7 were still really good. I can't fault him there. But, you know, he could... I don't write him off yet. I think he can get a lot of fans back if he pulls off a great 50th anniversary, and I'm sure he will. I mean, from the pictures that have just been released about the Daleks and, you know, what we've seen so far, it looks pretty freaking amazing, and I can't wait. It's gonna be a great spectacle on TV. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you all for watching, and hopefully I post some more videos soon. Okay, bye.